what is now Week in Review in World, or in World Week in Review, or something. The In World.
Alrighty. Well, welcome again to another fun episode of In-World Review on this very fine day of the 8th of March in 2026. And we have some great guests here today. They're from the Mobius grid, and I'll just let them say hello quickly here. So on the left here we have Akila.
Hello.
Hey, Akila, welcome. And then next to Akila is Royal, or Roy for short.
Hello.
Hey, Roy, welcome.
It's Royale, actually.
Wait, what?
It's
Real?
actually Royale.
Oh, okay. All right. And then we have our regular production team over here on the left couch. And so let me say next to me is Pet Love Pet Shop. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
All right, fantastic. And then next to Pet Love is Thursa.
It's Thursar, by the way.
Oh.
It's great to be here.
Oh,
I'm really
man.
happy to be here today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, as usual, we're going to start off with a review of the Hypergrid happenings that played yesterday on one of our shorts. So let me give that a roll here.
For Inworld Review, I'm Thursday Ember, and this is another Hypergrid happening. So much always happening in OpenSim on all the many, many grids that are connected by the Hypergrid. And here are just one or two wonderful things you could do this coming week. For example, on Saturday, you can go over to Soul Grid. Living with Friends is their motto, and a very friendly grid it is too. And they're going to have 3 hours of techno and trance music. It starts at 11 o'clock grid time, so plenty of things to do there. Why not also on Sunday go and sing yourself over on Twisted Times Grid? Faith Froment is inviting you to be a karaoke king or queen singing. She says it doesn't really matter if you don't have a good voice, but she would like you to dress up and dress as a character from a book or a play or a movie. That's happening on Sundays from 2 to 4 p.m. grid time over on Twisted Times. That looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to do that this week. And what about this too, talking about dressing up? Go to New Life Italy this Wednesday at 1 p.m. grid time. You can enjoy a party that's all about a fusion of music from the Nile to the Tiber. So that's Egypt and Italy, Rome in particular. So you dress up in a Roman or Egyptian costume and go over it and really enjoy the music of the wonderful Lunar era. Another great singer, and that's Ksenia Baxton. She's going to be singing over on Afra Hendrix's region on OS Grid. That's on Thursday at noon. You can enjoy Ksenia. If you don't know her, she's a big singer. She does classic rock, but she's also a builder here in OpenSim. Very well known in Second Life. But so if you're not familiar with her yet, that's definitely one to do. And a reminder too that this is the week where we have the season finale of HG Safari. Begins not at 12 noon grid time, but at 1 p.m. because the clocks change in America, but not here in Europe. Come along because we're going to do two really fun things. First of all, re-explore a bit of Biker World over on CCI Grid with Soabad and Siwas. And then we're going to go to Atreus on the Ozone Grid. That's Spax Orion's place. And we're going to learn all about his new game machine. I'm just going to put it that way. He's going to tell us all about that. So that's going to be a really exciting way to end our season. And of course, again, don't forget on Sunday at 11 a.m. grid time, there will be another episode of In-World Review, and our guest will be coming from Mobius Grid. So we're really looking forward to that. See you there, and also see you around OpenSim for whatever hypergrid happening you enjoy the most. See you there.
All right. Well, thanks, Thurza. That's a good presentation. You have something to say?
I was just saying it's always interesting each week to come up with some different events. We try and mix it up with all the different grids that I can find out about events upcoming in the next week. Obviously, a lot of people post things at the last minute, but it's just intriguing how many different kinds of ways that people can get together in OpenSim. You know, whether it's dressing up for a concert that's themed, like the one over on a New Life Italy, or whether it's karaoke, which can be hilarious if you've ever been along to one of those.
Oh my God.
or it's playing games, and of course that's going to be a big thing we'll be talking about today. There's just so many different ways that you can entertain yourself here in OpenSim.
I loved how you talked about the grid time for our show today, but then I love that HG Safari stays on European time around this time of year.
That's very reason, because we have to kind of avoid getting the meal time, but we also have to avoid not ending too soon, too late rather, because it is a weeknight for most people. Most people have jobs and have to go to them in the morning, so that's why we stick to the European time.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Even if it creates chaos.
All right. Such chaos. We live for chaos. No, we live for chaos emeralds. Oh, silly me. Well, speaking of that, let's dive into checking in with our guests here. So, Pet Love, I think you're going to start us off.
Yes. Thank you. Do we want Roy and Akila to introduce themselves again? Because they've introduced themselves to us, but have we introduced them to everybody else?
Sure. Yeah, if they want to say a word about each other.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please.
I'm happy to start the ball rolling. I don't mind. People call me Akila. Sometimes they'll go by my account Luminal or Lumi for short, whatever. I'm one of the contractors for Mobius Grid, sort of help with a lot of the scripting there. I'm also a scripter and owner of a store in Second Life called Lumen Co. So both platforms, but just someone who's really, really into scripting for virtual worlds and having a bit of fun along the way. IRL, I'm just an IT tech and currently learning to software engineer. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Royale.
Yep, I'm Royale, or everyone just calls me Roy for short. So I run Mobius Grid. I've been operating it for almost 12 years now. Just been doing that that's pretty much my life. 24/7 is basically my work at this point.
That's great. I didn't realize it was such a long-standing event, because it is an event constantly.
It'll be 12 years, May 18th.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Are you going to have a party?
I try to typically go every time when it's 5 years. So like we did one for the 5th, we did one for the 10th. I might do one. I mean,
maybe a little.
I really wasn't planning on doing one this year because I'm actually going to be traveling cross country right after the anniversary anyway. So timing would be a bit off unless I planned a different date for it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll celebrate behind your back. How about that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't stop. I mean, I always encourage users to host their own events in our public spaces. If they want to do that, they're welcome to.
I mean, might as well set up like a DJ event or something. I can DJ if you want.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
That's why I like it. Live planning.
Yeah. Off the cuff. Well, before we jump into the scripting stuff that y'all do, which is so cool, you want to tell us a bit more about the background of Mobius Grid? Like you just said, it's been around about 12 years now, which is amazing.
Where do I begin? I'm trying to figure out an abridged way. Give me a moment. So Akila and I both come from the same community on SL, and the best way to describe it is it's unstable. Places constantly open and reclose historically. That has gotten a bit better over the years. But I started Mobius almost 12 years ago because, well, I got tired of seeing new places opening every other month and then I'm closing a month later after opening. As we know, the cost on Second Life is astronomical for a full region.
Yep, it certainly is. Okay, well, that's interesting.
And you pay more for, a homestead more than the performance you actually get.
OpenSim has a lot of advantages. It really does. It's great. Yeah. You can make it your own. And so you don't have the limitations.
How often do you find that you have to explain Mobius and the game background to people?
Oddly enough, not too often. It's usually more towards people who've been in OpenSim for a long time. I'd have to explain it to. But a lot of people who come across us normally already know what they don't necessarily know about us, but they know what we're basically doing and stuff, and are familiar enough.
Is that partly because
just happened to come across us outside of Second Life and OpenSim, so we got a lot of fresh blood on Mobius.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Is that partly because of the popularity of Sonic? They recognize something they're already familiar with, and
that would be partially of it. Also, I would also say a good amount of my friends recommended it to people, and those friends happen to be actually a few of them happen to be artists fairly well known throughout the fan community. So I was a bit fortunate in that regard.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, true.
Outstanding.
I would add that often people we get attention from people who have at least a passing affection for some Sonic related stuff. But you'll also find people will come over and do things for completely different reasons. Like, for example, we even have like a Zelda region sort of area, and it looks amazing. But kidding. They're also into Sonic, but it's the fact that we maintain that we're kind of a gaming metaverse at the end of the day. So, but we don't mind if. In fact, we encourage people to diversify from it if they want to as well.
That's one of the things that, as running HG Safari, I really love about it, because we get to bring people who may not have any kind of a gaming background come and they learn on Mobius about all kinds of games going back many times, decades. Like that Zelda example, we did a safari there. Was it, James? How long ago was that? Must have been 3 or 4 weeks ago. Something.
Not too long. All right.
And it was so interesting to hear all the different people say, "Oh, I recognize that music. Oh, I know this place." It was beautiful because to have a place like that that's walkable. I know at the end the idea is to make it an actual game that can be played, but just having it as an environment that you can walk through is gorgeous. It's a great idea.
Very happy that you guys enjoyed it, by the way.
Absolutely.
It was great. It was great. Yeah, the Zelda was fun too. That was unexpected, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that. I'll be going over to check it out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still there. D has their region up. They're actually one of our oldest users that came back after a hiatus, and they opened up that region. And believe it or not, that build was probably done mostly in about a month, maybe less.
Wow.
Yeah. When D's in a groove, they do a lot.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
well,
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's some good background. Anyone who's not familiar with Mobius Grid. So we're really here today to talk about some of the amazing scripting that's going on. And I have a video that I'm going to play shortly. But before I look at this latest feature, I just wanted to ask, you've brought in so many different aspects of the gameplay. And I wonder, Akila, do you keep a list of the features that you want to bring in from the game? I mean, how do you choose what things you're going to allow avatars to do on the grid?
Right. So That's a really interesting question. I'll be honest with you. It is entirely an intuitive process. I look at a game that maybe the series has. So, for example, the hoverboards you see is based on a game called Sonic Riders, and I'm a huge fan of this game. Basically, a lot of it has been me just sort of testing concepts that work within a virtual world like this, and sort of really narrowing down what can work and what can't work into a list of features then that sort of ends up being a bit of a hybrid of the two. So you'll find that this system here doesn't actually behave a lot like the games, but it behaves enough like it so that the concept it becomes its own thing almost. But
I recognized it right away. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
especially the rail grinding. I mean, well, should we watch the video?
Yeah, definitely think so, because I think people are going to be like, rail grinding?
What are they talking about? All right, well, here we go.
That's a beautiful little video.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. All right, here we go. Woohoo! Just wild.
That's great. Fantastic, isn't it?
Yep.
What's the insurance like for a hoverboard like this?
Well, somebody who used to work in insurance, probably quite expensive. I imagine the accidental damage cover is highly sought after.
Probably the same as the professional skateboarders. Who knows?
Oh man, can't imagine.
I got a feeling the chiropractor cost is quite high too.
I would need a whole new head. I'd be grinding right on my top of my skull the whole time.
Very cool.
Nice.
Such true things written there, right there, that goes to some way to dispel the notion that there's not much going on open sim. You can't do much. Fantastic.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. I can't believe some of the things that are going on there. And I love the, I was noticing the check marks this time. But before I ask questions, you want to jump in and just talk a little bit about the background to this?
Yeah, so actually, as mentioned, that starts off as a project on Second Life. And obviously, because a lot of the code could maintain parity from one platform to the other, it started out as just me directly porting something over at Royale's request. But then I started realizing that between the physics engine, between how everything's set up, the larger regions, the fact that region crossings happen so quick, yeah, compared to
When
FL.
set up correctly, because it can be a
Yeah,
problem on open.
Right.
yeah, of course, with the right tweaking, right? But essentially, like with all of that, it just suddenly clicked that I was like, okay, well, actually, I could start doing a bit more with this, and now that actually represents the cutting edge build for the same vehicle that I provide in SL. So the best version is on Mobius Grid. Whereas like a more, the version that gets the updates a little bit later and now is now pushed off to where I used to mainly go. But essentially what that is a vehicle. It's meant to be portable so people can just, walk around and suddenly hit a gesture and they're on the board. They can start grinding and doing all these tricks and just travel even on water. So it's a really accessible vehicle as well.
Yep. And
Nice.
so much like the gameplay. Yeah.
Mm.
I noticed the check marks, and so I'm curious: are those like checkpoint milestones going through a course, or are they like achievements for accomplishing a trick?
So the trick system, there's a lot built into it. When you jump in the air, you can perform tricks. There's two types of tricks. You've got normal and special tricks. Specials, they're both accessible at any time, but the specials take a little bit longer to execute than the normal ones. The reason that check mark is there is because you need to be able to land a successful combo. That check mark turns into a cross if you end up performing a trick too late and then hit the ground. So you can actually fail trick combos as well.
So do you have like
learning.
do you have like a HUD that shows what you're going to be doing, or like a list of tricks?
Still working on implementing more features into it.
Okay.
HUD is something I've considered, but right
Okay.
now it's a hovertext combo thing.
Okay.
It's not easily seen in the video, but
Yep.
you can do up to a ×5 combo. In order to increase that combo meter, you need to do a unique trick while still in the air.
Okay.
Grinding helps preserve that trick combo. So if you're about to land, but you see a rail, you can grind on it to preserve the combo
Oh, very
and
nice.
jump off that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know
That's
that.
great. That's
You
amazing.
have to read
A
the
lot of hidden
note
mechanics.
cards.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get a note card.
It's
You have to write the note card.
it's not released
I ain't
yet, but
running
it
a
is
note card.
pretty
I
it is
write
pretty
no card.
close to a release date. But basically the note card is going to be, well, I'll probably have to do a Google Doc with how much stuff I have to write in. But the idea of this vehicle is that as long as you know how to res it, as long as you know how to ride it, which is just the basic controls, you can go anywhere with it. Everything else is stuff you can learn along the way.
That's so cool. And is it keyboard presses that cause the different tricks? Yeah.
It's keyboard presses. So we're using gestures for tricks. However, I know that because obviously OpenSim tries to maintain parity with Second Life. They're working on a game control update which works with a gamepad. Mobius Grid already has provisions in place to make the back end for this work. So we might contribute that to the fork of OpenSim that we use, which is NGC. And they will hopefully will be able to have gamepad support for it as well.
Oh, that's
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Long story short on the gamepad thing, Ruby, who is responsible for our features like experience and display names, was experimenting adding gamepad support years ago before Linen Lab even told anyone that they were doing it, and we stopped because we're like, we're gonna have to convince the viewer to adopt this, and that's not gonna work. So we shelved it, and now Linen Lab is doing it, and we're like, well, maybe with little modification we can make ours compliant with that feature and not have to deal with insanity now.
Right.
Not as
But
much.
we're waiting till they finish their spec,
Right.
which is taking a long time.
Now, I mean, Linden has always had a joystick controller, that you can add into the viewer. But is this different being a gamepad?
So
You could with the gamepad lets you interface like a vehicle, like your scripts with the gamepad. So like you can
Okay.
actually
Okay.
have like a game like if you hold down the right, like in a car game on console where you hold the right trigger
Right.
as the throttle pedal, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, because the
They're
joystick
gamifying SL
control.
a bit more.
Okay, yeah, because the joystick control really is just about movement and maybe camming,
yeah,
as far as I could tell. So, this is a great improvement.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're basically adding LSL support to it.
Yes.
Is the most basic way to say what they're doing.
Okay.
yeah.
It's more than that, but I don't want to
Our
get into the detail.
Oh, that's
our
fine.
thinking is once Firestorm has an update for this, we can then work on the back end and you know.
Yeah, and that ability to trigger gestures from the gamepad. That's so cool. Wow.
It, mm.
So, what kind of
Well, wouldn't
challenges?
necessarily be gestures there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. What kind of challenges did you run into putting together the hoverboard?
So this was a port, as I said, from SL. So the main struggle was while code is quite similar, like for example, LSL, OSSL, which is the OpenSim variant of it, they're both basically very, very similar to each other, and most scripts that you'll port from there to here work. The challenge is that they don't work in the same way you think they do. The order of operations changes a lot. And so the challenge then becomes more a case of how do I solve this problem the way that OpenSim wants it to be solved? And in general, vehicles like this, obviously quite complex systems for something for a platform like this, I think. A lot of it tends to be you can't so say for example if I code in something like Java, right? 'Cause as I said, I do know quite a bit of Java at this point. There's a well-known library for almost any problem that I face. If I need to do something, there's a library for it. Not necessarily the case for scripting languages here. So you do have to get very creative with solutions to problems like how do I make a vehicle have a trick combo? How do I know when the vehicle's in a grinding state? How do I define a grinding path? Which direction should I go? And that a lot of it boils down to knowing some applied mathematics, basically.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Also having the calls. I wonder. Do you think it gives you any insight into, into the Sega developers and what they dealt with putting together a game in the first place? I was just thinking about, a rail is going to have a path that the avatar needs to follow. It's
Yes, it needs to have a path. You need to define because obviously objects when they're in regions can have a scale, but they also have a position, which is always the center. And you'll need to define based on the length and the position where you are, and then the closest snap to position because the rail you could be anywhere along the rail. But then you also have to define a dot product value, which is basically in layman's terms, that is how close am I to this axis to know which direction in which I need to grind.
Oh wow.
In regards to the Sega question, I do think it does give a little bit of insight because you can actually see a lot of documented videos. For example, one of the developers behind Sonic 3D Blast, which is a very old game.
Ooh, Code Hut.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. They actually document some troubles with rendering that they had and how they had to be really creative among the restrictions that they had. And working with stuff like this in OpenSim can be a case of we're restricted, so we need to think more creatively. The end result usually ends up with something that is absolutely crazy, and the program is usually better off for it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's something that Sonic has a great reputation for. The speed of moving sprites, even in the first game, was just unbelievable for a platformer like that. And they, to make Sonic spin and move as quickly as he did across those landscapes, very, very clever programming.
Is Sonic still out there as a game creating company or force or anything like that?
Sega's still around, yes. They actually just released Sonic Cross Worlds Racing about last November, right? Akila, was November or was it October?
Something like that. I would probably say it's one of my favorite kart racing games. They've done a phenomenal job with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Sega still publishes games. The developer for Sonic has always been Sonic Team, with some exceptions. They've gotten fans on for things like Sonic Mania, for example.
Well, don't forget, you mentioned 3D Blast. That was done by Telltale Games, the same company that does Lego games.
Right.
So they, yeah, and as I said, they do all this stuff. So they're still very much a big force in the industry. And one thing, and this is the reason why Mobius Grid I think is prospered, is Sega really, really loves their fan content.
Great.
They've hired developers that have made fan games before, so it's quite cool.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Could you do this? Because all of us who've spent any time in Second Life, we've come across people who wanted to build something that was a fan, it was a tribute to something commercial, and they've come across lots of different problems, a whole range of different problems, where they've kind of butted up against the commercial side of the business and been blocked in doing things because even though they're just fans, it was considered that they were kind of somehow robbing copyright. Is that something that is that partly why you find OpenSim easier to work in, or has that never really been a factor for you guys?
Well, it really depends up to the company. Like Sega's main thing is, we like fan content as long as you're not making money off the content itself, outside of like, let's say outside of fan art, because that technically you're paying the art for their time and effort the artist for the time and effort to draw, not the IP itself. They don't care. We don't sell any of the stuff that we make Sonic related. The only thing we make money for is literally just blank regions and let people use that as a canvas.
Right.
I'd also point out that I believe, Royale, you've told me that Sega is aware of us.
They have been.
Yeah, and also at the same time, they're one of the companies that, while technically, yes, copyright is something we do have to respect, they are really, really lax, and primarily it's because of the ecosystem of how these games exist. A lot of, as I said, there's one game, Sonic Mania, developed entirely by fans who'd produced previous games, fan games for Sonic. And instead of being like, oh, we can't have that, they actually just hired them to produce a game for them.
More power
with
to
Sonic Mania.
That's brilliant.
That's wonderful.
Very enlightened. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, examples of the ones you mentioned. I know a prime example of one that hit a wall, like you mentioned, was the guy who wanted to do a Disneyland tribute. That, as I said, like, it depends really on the company's attitude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I know Frank Lloyd Wright region. All they did was try and recreate some of his iconic houses, and the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation came down on them, basically shut the sim, and it wasn't like they were charging money to enter the sim or anything. They just didn't want their IP to be imitated or copied in World, which is such a shame, because you're trying to honor them. You're not trying to steal anything.
And that one, I'd say that's a little more gray, but because of, at that point, there's no money made and you're not distributing it. But it also depends on like what country they're based out of. Like, there's many different things. Like some countries, like if they don't have a copyright here, if you make it here, it's now yours. And others, like we know certain countries are kind of weird like that.
Sure.
And other countries aren't. Not every country agrees on how to protect IP.
Right.
So true.
Or respects other countries' IP.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Well, Akila, do you have anything else you'd like to say about the hoverboard in specific?
Yeah, I mean, you may have noticed that it also supports half-pipe physics.
Yes.
I was really, really surprised at how quickly I was able to get that working.
Yeah, I'm even trying to imagine how does that work, because it's not a
all
path.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, all vehicles in your boat usually have to follow this idea of they need to be 4 spheres, kind of like the wheels on a car, except not wheel-shaped, they're just spheres. This makes up the sort of wheelbase of a vehicle. U-Boat is really, really good at handling collisions. And for some reason, again, it was just a case of, I wonder what happens when I shoot this vehicle up a half pipe. And it was just like that, straight away. And then all of a sudden, those half pipes belong to they were originally made by Bloom Peters. Bloom comes up to me and says, "Well, I've got these half pipes, and they're designed for smooth traversal in U-Boat. Would you like them?" And I'm like, "Yes, please."
That's awesome.
That's great.
And then I've just been developing mechanics so that it works on half pipes ever since. And now you can just do all this stuff where, say, for example, you just want to hang around with friends and you're like, "Oh, I just want to drop down and do some tricks." It's entirely possible.
The one time we decided to run into something that wasn't me ends up being a great feature.
But I wanted to say, and I wanted to just really take some time to appreciate just how open and understanding and just how supportive the OpenSim community is. I've had a lot of people who develop scripts for it, in different Discords, just being really, really understanding and offering advice every step of the way. And I gotta say thank you to everyone who's ever communicated with me on that.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and I think I saw credits at the end of the video for the shape of the hoverboard.
Oh yes, the model. Okay, so the model is made by D. That's D Dismantled. They are
they're the one that made the
Hyrule Sim. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yep.
The animations are from Smoke Fumus. You don't see much of him, but he is one of our animators. Was there anybody else? I don't think there was.
Yes, there is actually. D made the high LOD and the UV map of the hoverboard, but Turbo did the texture work and made the lower LOD versions.
I'm terrible with remembering names. Yeah, Turbo. Yeah. Turbo did a lot of the extra work on the models as well, especially as you said, the texturing and the UV mapping.
Yeah, Turbo did the texturing.
Yeah, but particle scripts and some of the sound work, that's myself.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, that's really awesome. So I do have a video queued up here for the tornadoes. I think the airplanes.
Let's see them.
Is that something we should go into now?
Yeah, go for Akila's game.
All right. Well, let's jump into that. I love the prompt at the beginning. It's great.
Oh yeah, that was made by my friend who goes by the name of Sega Steven. He's also the one who made the Tornado and Tempest models.
Oh, okay.
Those are fantastic planes. This is the opposite of what happened when the Safari came to visit your region. And we all kind of crashed.
Yeah, still working on painting the planes to become a beginner friendly. They drop out of the sky a bit too easy.
Yeah, I seem to remember riding around on a wing at one point with Nara flying it.
That's right. Oh, I remember that.
We rode the rails at one point on just going around on the sim edge. Crazy stuff. But it's a great example of teamwork here, because you got somebody making the plane, somebody making the script, somebody making the animations. How do you? So do you kind of just ask somebody, say, I need a bit, can you help me out with that, or is it stuff that the person has already made? How do you do that? How do you get together for that?
Yeah.
Allow me to part with the Tornado and Tempest bit. So with the Tornado, my friend Steven happened to just make that model originally for a rendering 3D shot. It was not game ready initially. And I asked him, hey, I like the design you did for the Tornado. Can we use this in Mobius? This is long before I met Akila here, and before we even had the combat system even thought of. So I asked him, can you make a game ready version of this? And he did. He actually broke it down into the multiple parts that we need. He got it optimized because, oh boy, was it ridiculously high polyed originally. Because you know, we just make it just to make a rendered 3D image. Didn't care about optimization. It wasn't meant to be flown or played with. It was just meant to be a pretty picture. And Steven did a good job at that. Turbo did some additional cleaning work that, you know, Steven missed, and we uploaded it. It just sat in our inventory doing nothing for a while because we couldn't find someone who can make it fly. Then Akila did. He started working on, you know, the combat system, and I asked Steven, hey, can you make another plane? I asked him to make something that looked like it came from the tornado, but also looks like it was a F4U Corsair, and that's how we got the Tempest.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Akila,
I like the fact that in Discord you asked people to choose the name. That was great too.
Yeah,
that's for the next plane,
nice
the Monsoon.
Yeah.
That one's not modeled yet, but Steven actually started the other day on that.
Oh, cool.
He actually drew a concept image of it before he started doing the model.
So, the Extreme Gear is my project. It's my personal thing. So, I often get models from Mobius Grid as contribution. Whereas with this one, this is an official sort of grid project. We're trying to design a dogfighting term for fighting in planes. I don't mean that'd be horrid. But basically,
we are furries, so if we punch each other, that's close enough.
Okay. But essentially, we want to have NPCs, bosses, kind of things that you can go around, sort of like an alert system. So there's a lot that goes into this to make it more like a persistent game. Whereas with the Extreme Gear, that's more of a game-like vehicle, so to speak, where it's just something you can pop up and just use at any time. It's a lot more chill, that one. This one's a lot more formal. It's the idea of, well, in SL you have all of these dogfighting planes, but they're very limited by sim size, whereas here you can have sims that are over a mile long if you wanted.
Right.
And that opens the floodgates for doing a lot more with planes. So this one was actually the first project I was contracted to work with Mobius Grid on.
Oh, yeah. How did you do it?
How did I do it?
Again, I'm blown away by this. Again, this is U-boat physics that gives some of the features.
Mobius Grid entirely uses a tweaked version of U-boat. Not modified specifically, but it's mostly custom.
Yeah, we use custom settings that were actually shared with us by Balpine Hammerer, Discovery. Mm-hmm. He shared us some settings that actually gets us double the frame rate for the physics.
Okay.
So we make a plane.
Things are a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Right.
So we make a plane. We have a HUD. The HUD sort of can provide information. So all the plane is doing is speaking to the HUD, and then the HUD translates that into what you see on the screen. And then essentially the combat side of it, we're not actually using physical rounds because that is a limitation of OpenSim. Is if you put a lot of physical entities onto a region at once, things get bad really quick. Mm-hmm. So what you're actually seeing are particles.
Okay.
And basically it's firing a sensor cone and it's doing maths to figure out, would I actually be able to hit this plane? There's raycasting involved, quite a few different things. And it's then sending an end-to-end encrypted message from one plane to another, so that if you have a bad actor or something and they're like, ooh, what if I take this message and copy-paste it? It won't work because we are using a cryptographic ciphertext with some other things there.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, the experience is fantastic. I mean, the sense of shooting, when you're firing the weapon, it works great.
What's funny about your choice of words there, it actually does use experience tools.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yes, it does. To attach the HUD automatically, it needs experience permissions. So we are actually using experience for that. I've also toyed around with the idea of maybe persistently storing data on an experience, because that is a possibility for things like flight stats, player stats, for example, things like that.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember the to portal around on the islands on the grid, do you have experience that helps speed up that process?
Yes.
Am I remembering that?
Rings.
Yeah.
Yes. I know some people are like, why don't you use OS Teleport Agent? I'll say why. 'Cause, well, the way OSSL is set up, it can do a lot of great things, but the benefit of using experience is permissions. OSSL, if not set up correctly, can be very much abused. And if someone, say if you're a grid operator and someone's using their experience key, because the experience is the key is tied to the experience owner. So, like, granted, I can give you permission to edit to my experience if I wanted to via the group that link, because you can link groups to it. But if someone is being malicious with their experience, the grid operator can easily just go susep end experience, and all of that person's scripts compiled to that experience key just cease operations.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be devastating.
Well, it'd be devastating, but it's really more if that's more for the admin end if the person using the experiences key is being malicious.
Okay.
But on the user end,
I see.
you can grant the permission once and it will remember. But if you don't want it to affect you anymore, you can just tell it to forget. Useful for those who want to hang around but don't want to participate in the game.
Right.
So that's an important part of the experience too, that the fact that you can have people who are spectators. It's fun to play a game, but it's also sometimes that seems to be a little bit overlooked, the fact that you may have people who just want to be in the room with you, on the sim with you, and just watch the game happening, comment on the game, maybe learn to play the game by watching the better players play. And that, when we go on Safari, that's quite often the case. Some people want to join straight in, and some just want to watch and maybe video it or take photos or just comment on the mistakes that are happening.
It's like watching a football game, you sit there,
Exactly.
eat peanuts and cheer and yell and talk.
And on that theme,
more than that.
and on that theme, though, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the community of Mobius, if that's okay.
Of course.
Because obviously Mobius has got a very vibrant community, and I was wondering, do you think at all about how to reach more people? Do you feel the need to reach more people? I was wondering also how important the hypergrid is to Mobius. How much do you value that part of the community, the way you're in a single entity within this whole archipelago of very different grids? And what's the future for Mobius? Do you see it growing more? Can you tell us a little about that?
So on the first bit on about how we feel about hypergrid and how much we rely on it, I say we rely on hypergrid less these days than we used to. I'm for hypergrid. I am, however, critical of how it's implemented, because my primary thing is stability, security, for the user.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, with the hypergrid, there's 3 different versions of the protocol running around, all with varying levels of security.
Right.
And there's people running 1.0, there's people running 1.5, there's people like us running 2.0, which is the current latest. And so, personally, I think hypergrid needs to be redone entirely, but that's neither here or there. Hypergrid, we have drawn in users from the hypergrid. And honestly, a lot of our showcasing is pretty much shown through the hypergrid. You guys obviously come with the hypergrid Safari and seen what we do on many occasions, but you're not the only ones that come through and go, oh, this is cool. We've had several come through and go, I want to stay here, and have.
Right. That's great.
But yeah, most of our user base has either come from other websites that just happen to see that we exist, or Second Life. We have more population from those places than we do from native OpenSim users.
Yeah. we try to run the grid very sort of, I mean, I would say right in the sort of community, because I've been trying to sort of push ideas for community engagement, partly through also on that channel for Mobius team. There's YouTube shorts showcasing some of the things going on. When we had the Christmas event, I did a little YouTube short of like you being able to fish for items and being able to grab prizes through that fishing mini game.
Sure.
The thing is like with Hypergrid, it's nice to have because it's kind of like an outside coming in sort of thing. People can come in, they can see the grid as is, and they can interact with some of our most mainline sort of attractions, so to speak. You know, all of our regions and stuff like that aren't necessarily limited to Hypergrid users. And that sort of, I feel, entices them maybe to keep an eye on the community at least, and at most maybe come join us for more things.
Yeah. It certainly does showcase. It does give people who are doing completely different things in OpenSim the opportunity to experience Mobius, which if you weren't linked to the Hypergrid, they may never come across you. So I guess it's just one more string to your bow, as it were.
Exactly. I would say there are definitely security issues with the Hypergrid, but I'd say that about any federated protocol.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
SL has its security issues as well.
But
Yeah.
the thing is past that, the advantages are there's a lot more engagement, and there are other ways that I can protect my content if I need to. So I'm not necessarily the most worried about that.
I think Petlove has a last question for us.
I do, and I was just
going
to say that this dovetails with the last question in a way. We were wondering what you think. Of course, we know what you think about the presence of games in OpenSim. Like, we've covered that pretty thoroughly. The question is, do you think it would be useful or worthwhile to have more games and more types of development along these lines, or do you think it could be overkill to get too many grids set up and users having too many choices? I don't know if that's the right word, but those are the right words. But what do you think? Do you think more types of grids like yours would be better, or do you think that there's a threshold that would keep it from being as awesome as it is?
I'm going to say that it depends on your grid and your community. If
No
your
doubt,
community
yeah.
if your community is much more game focused, the presence of games like this may move from a nice thing to have to almost a necessity. For us to have these kinds of things is, you know, the interactive things is a necessity for people to keep coming and enjoying where we're at, you know.
Sure.
But if you're a grid that's more interested in the social aspect of OpenSim, then maybe these games may end up taking a more sideline attraction. It might be a thing where it's a case of you might come to socialize and stay to play a few different things.
Yeah.
Like the game parks, yeah, like checkers and chess and stuff like that, yeah.
And you mentioned in the Hypergrid happenings, I was aware of it actually, somebody making sort of a game system for OpenSim, and I'm interested in seeing where that goes. And I'd love to see more people get into that 100%. What I will say is we definitely need more development in this sector, because I'll put it this way. Some of these things have been responsible for attracting people to our grid that wouldn't have come otherwise. They would have said, "Oh, it's too boring."
Yeah.
You know.
right.
And the more the merrier in some senses of the words, because people spend a lot of time in these places, and this is a wholesome way to enjoy yourself and to meet people.
It is. There are only so many nude beaches you can go to before you realize maybe there could be more different ways to pass your days.
As I've said, in my experience, most of OpenSim's is either art exhibits or clubs. That's like the most most of what you can do across the Hypergrid. Obviously, it's not everything, but it's like the most stuff that most people go to.
Absolutely.
And that's all fine and good, but like games can also draw in a younger crowd, and for OpenSim to survive, you need more people to come in
and stay. Yeah.
Sure,
Right.
like,
Yeah,
I'm
that's true.
34, Akila's 30, but like the entire community is only just getting older. If we're not attracting the younger people in,
Oh, don't tell me
where's
about
Open
it.
Sim going to be?
Well, one of the
What?
fun things to do is to offer different experiences, and that's
Yeah.
what, for example, there's learning experiences. You can go and take classes all over the shop. You
Mhm.
can learn languages. There's so many builds that are like
But mature
it's like
minds are
going
interested.
abroad. Yeah, but even if it's not necessarily a mature mind, even if it just came in just to mess about and weren't really planning on doing anything too heavy, when you find something that kind of captures your imagination, whether it's a game or whether
Whatever.
it's that's really the trick of it, isn't it? To capture people's imagination and get them
Yeah.
thinking a different way. Whether it's playing your games, which are wonderful, and you have a lot of skills that most people probably couldn't even dream of having, the kind of scripting skills you're talking about. But just the opportunity to try something different and just kind of open your horizons a little bit. That's really the trick, I think, in OpenSim, don't you? That to keep the mind young, you have to keep it open.
Yeah.
Write that
definitely.
down.
Yeah.
I would also add to that for anybody that is struggling to learn how to script, if they do ever need any help or advice on sort of learning a few aspects of LSL, I'd be happy to offer assistance.
Oh, that's nice.
But
Wow.
also, I saw Sprocket in chat on YouTube, and I just wanted to mention that they've also been behind some really, really interactive experiences on Mobius Grid, and I'm sure you've probably seen them. Sunset, Royal, is it called? Sunset something? I forget the name.
Sunset Zone. So sorry, Sunset Park Zone.
Thank
And
you,
actually,
thank you.
Speaking of Sprocket, she's actually one of the people that was brought in via the hypergrid. I ran into her and another friend of ours named Wish on the Welcome region of Metropolis Metaversum back when they were still around.
Wow, there you go. There's
When
a
I
name
was-
for the past.
I was hypergridding, and then I AFK'd, for a few minutes to go to the bathroom, and I came back, and there's two ponies talking to me.
Yeah. Right.
That can happen to
yeah.
anybody.
Yeah. Well, we are approaching the end of the hour very quickly. I have one quick question, Akila, and who is that sitting on your head? Is that an actual Mobian?
Okay, yes. So this is this is a Chow. They are sort of a race, a sort of species within the Sonic sort of franchise. They're little balls of sentient balls of chaos energy, essentially.
Okay.
We had them. So we had some of these models sitting around. D again had made these, and one of our residents. One that goes by Gemini, just recently started coming in, and they were like, "Oh, it'd really be nice if we could have these on the grid." So they're actually in the Hyrule Sim right now, and you can basically pick them up. The little animesh pets that you can either have on your head or besides you that follow you around, and
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
I think they're pretty cute.
Yeah, that's cool.
The whole pet phenomenon, pretty amazing.
They're
in the
adorable.
actual
There's
game-
lots of different colors, aren't there? There's many.
Loads of different types. This
gorgeous.
is the hero
yeah.
variant, but there's dark ones. There's sort of
Chaos.
chaos ones. Yeah, exactly. Loads
Do
of
they
stuff.
take over
Yeah.
for you if you start to go sideways? They help you?
They're but yeah, they're a breedable like pet system in the actual games.
Okay.
Oh, excellent.
They're also not the brightest. They'll occasionally try to drown themselves before they know how to swim.
Who hasn't done that? Come on.
Right.
Be honest.
Good point.
Well, I think it's time for us to wrap up. I'm going to, right off the bat, I want to thank our usual staff. Thanks for helping out today. This is a really fun show.
Been great to be here.
And also to Pet Love, thanks for popping in today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. And then a very extra special thanks to Akila and Roy. Thanks for coming and showing this amazing work. The passion that you bring to this creativity and development is really evident, and I think people enjoy it tremendously. So
Thanks for
Maybe
having
the
us.
future.
Thanks for having us.
All right. And so we're going to wrap up this one. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. And I hope you have a good time otherwise, and be safe out there in the hypergrid, and be kind and safe to each other. And we will talk to you soon. I'm missing some audio.